Hi, how are you doing? I'm Derek Lau with AIDEM Media Solutions. I help organizations tell a better story with video. And today we're going to be talking about discover your team's potential. We're not going to be actually discussing the entire book. There's multiple authors to this book. Today we're going to be talking about Steve Goble's section in discovering your team's potential. Steve is a mutual friend of all of ours, and we're excited to talk about his first published book.
Hi, I'm Kim McKilligan. I am with Max Your Health. We focus on helping people be the best that they were created to be. I am also a John Maxwell team member in helping people with life coaching.
I am Jeremy Mayer. I'm 19 years in law enforcement, and I'm also a John Maxwell team member.
Hey, I'm Amy Malay. I am also a member of the John Maxwell team. You can tell we have something in common here, right? Along with Steve. And I also am a life and leadership coach. My passion is just helping people to get unstuck and to be able to move forward toward their goals and dreams that maybe they put on the shelf for a while. So, excited to be here with you guys today.
Steve's section is called Understanding Tomorrow's Leaders Today. So we're just going to kind of go around and talk about what our main takeaways were. What was your takeaway, Kim?
Well, I can start just because Steve goes into like the levels of leadership. There's 5 L's. I really liked how he did that. And listen was a big one. It's the very first one, and I think that's so important because so often might hear one thing that's said, and we're immediately creating a response instead of really listening to what is being said and understanding that. And in the DISC, personality behavioral analysis that we use to help people's personalities allows that communication to happen clearly, because I don't just think in my own personality, but I might, if I'm talking to someone who's a strong D, then I will try to listen as a D and try to respond as a D, even though I'm a very strong I.
Okay, awesome. And just to be clear, the 5 L's that Steve talks about are listen, learn, love, lead, and let go. Yeah. What was your takeaway, Amy?
Well, I love the listen one, Kim, as well. Like, the note I wrote down was, listening to understand and not just to respond. Because I think so often, like, that's what we're doing, right? We're thinking in our mind what we're going to say next after the person takes a breath, right? We're going to interject something. But really, it's been a challenge for me, and I feel like that is something I'm still learning, but I'm getting better at listening so that I can just truly understand the other person's perspective without any judgment of my own, but just to truly understand them. And building on that, what you said earlier, even before Steve goes into the 5 L's, he talks about, why are we lacking in so many areas of our society in good leaders and qualified leaders. And the thing he says, before he even gets into the 5 L's is that part of it is the discomfort that leadership brings into our lives. And the way that connects for me with DISC is because we're so used to our own style and we want to be comfortable, right? Like, we're creatures of habit, we want to be in our comfort zone. And to do, as you said, Kim, to approach someone in their style or to listen with ears of a different style, it's uncomfortable, right? And so we really have to be intentional about getting out of our comfort zone and listening differently and responding differently than what we're used to.
Yeah, a lot of people do listen to respond. I see that all the time. And you try to be better, but sometimes you still fall back into that habit.
I know, it's an ongoing challenge.
Yeah.
And doing it intentionally.
Yeah.
And if you focus on being intentional about your actions, lets you let go of listening to respond. If you intentionally focus on listening to that person's, what they're trying to actually connect with you about, then you can respond appropriately. One of the key takeaways I took was the letting go part. Working in law enforcement for 19 years and realizing that there's a specific structural rank structure that you have to abide by, but you realize in leaders' titles those with titles and those without titles can still be leaders in your organization. And those with titles have to realize letting go of some of that structure to develop the new leaders coming up, because we all know you're not going to be in an organization forever. The key is developing the new leaders. And coming up with these 5 L's, one, listening, as leaders have to listen, but in the end, they also have to let go to develop the new leaders coming after them. And I thought that was one of the key. And you end with the let go, because that is also the hardest part to do. Realizing that when you let go, you're also letting go some responsibility, but you're also bringing more accountability to those coming up as well.
Yeah, let go is also probably the one that resonated with me the most. As a small business owner, I started out on my own, and then had one part-time employee, and then hired some full-time employees. And it's still your name on it, and you have to care so much. And I used to micromanage a lot, and was very picky about stuff that at this point I realized I didn't need to be so picky with. The other thing I think that really helped me with letting go, because at this point I have a good team, and I can hand stuff off to them, and they allow me to go out and sell the jobs, or go out and be on video shoots. That's my favorite part, is being on set on the video shoot. I used to edit a lot, and that's where I micromanaged a lot. But one thing that allowed me to let go was by hiring good people. And the team that I have now are amazing, and it has allowed me to let go by making the decision of getting good people on board. Now I have 2 extremely talented editors at the office, and sometimes we don't always have a storyboard when we're making a video, or it's not always planned out with the script. Sometimes we're just shooting a bunch of B-roll footage, and we just have to mix it together and make it cool, like in some kind of montage or something like that. And these guys, I can just give them the footage and say, make it cool, and they do. Now it's obviously, when we have something that's scripted and there's a storyboard, obviously it's like assembling something and you put your own spin on it. But yeah, I've been able to let go and just trust my team members, and that's probably the L that resonated the most with me.
I think the thing I really liked that Steve did in this whole chapter that he wrote was the order that he put those 5 L's. You have to be able to listen first before you can even think about learning. And then when you're learning, love can happen, but if you're really listening and you've learned about that person, it makes it easier to give that natural professional love, that connection.
Yeah.
And then moving into leading them, which means leading and bringing up new leaders, like you were saying, and then the letting go and just allowing it all to happen. I thought Steve did a fantastic job with that chapter in how he wrote that in the order.
Yeah.
I agree, and I like what you said about the leading kind of contributing to the letting go, because you can't just hire people and not train them, right? So you've got to lead them, develop them, help them to learn what the skills are that they need and what the way is of your firm, so that they know how to do it the way you would do it.
Yeah.
Or similarly, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The one that I resonated with, probably the second most, was the learning, because you have to. I'm all about, one of our company values is elevation and continuing to improve and get better, and part of that is learning. And in a technology-related industry, there's always things that are changing in our industry, and we have to stay up on that. So just from a necessity and technical standpoint, learning was important for me as a takeaway.
Yeah.
I think some of the most difficult, when you look at it, and I see we have them all written down in order, and the middle one is love. In many organizations, I think that would be the most difficult, and I think it's unique how it's right in the middle of everything, because leaders of organizations or bosses of organizations a lot of times don't feel like, do they need to have that connection? And love's a strong word, but if you want to do all these things, you have to care about those people, to be willing to listen to them, to be willing to either learn from them or they're going to learn from you, and then that relationship. They won't lead, and let's start from the very beginning where you use the John Maxwell quote, is everything rises and falls with leadership. Well, you can't lead if they're not willing to listen, or no one's willing to learn, and then you can never get to the end product of letting go unless you bring that all together. And love is a very strong emotion that has to be developed between an organization.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and I think, sometimes we just kind of think of love in terms of our family, relationships and that sort of thing, but really in a professional sense, like being able to express that, as you kind of said, professional love, Kim, like just as it's a slightly different context, isn't it? But yeah, like just learning, what makes people tick that we're working with, and that's why this is all about DISC as well, right? Because we're learning, okay, what is their love language? What makes them react and respond the way they do, so that we can try to help connect with them by adjusting the way we're coming and, with whatever we say or whatever we're doing, are we keeping in mind how they're going to perceive it based on their style? And is it loving to them? Is it something that they're going to sense as caring and loving from us versus not? Yeah, just versus not, really. I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean,
Is that
go a long way.
Is that love defined in the level of respect you have, mutual respect between you, the employees and coworkers? How much more productivity did your editors now produce to a higher quality when they learn that you let them do their thing? When owners or title leaders develop their subordinates, that respect is now generated. Had you elevated them, like you had just said before? Now they're producing better for you because they've realized, hey, this guy cares about me.
Yeah.
He's willing to give me the jobs and the ability to do what I love to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think once you get the basics down and you can create quality content, the elevation from there is the creativity and I guess efficiency. And at that point, being able to create high quality content, I guess faster or on a more improved timeline, and or if not being faster, to make sure that the creative level and the quality level is higher.
Another thing that Steve said a few times in the chapter was just not to equate simple with easy. And I love that he wove that throughout, because it's so true. I mean, it's very easy to say and to sit here and talk about this stuff, right? But it's not quite as easy to put it in practice and to actually catch yourself when you're listening. And as you mentioned earlier, Jeremy, just to catch yourself in the moment of listening or in the moment of interacting with someone. I know a lot of times for me, it's like I realize it later and I think, oh man, like I could have done better in that situation. But hey, those are the times that are learning experiences then. So hopefully then the next time I will catch myself. And again, this is pointing back to one of the very first things he said in the chapter, is that it's about me, right? It's about looking in the mirror and developing myself and learning and growing myself so that I can then serve other people better.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we don't want to give the whole book away. We don't want to give a whole. It's only actually 7 pages. So, like I said, he is a co-author of Discover Your Team's Potential, and again, it's from Steve Goble. You can find this book on Amazon. It's got great reviews. Hopefully, you've learned some things from us, or hopefully what we've talked about has inspired you to give it a read. And just a little bit about Steve. He is a John Maxwell certified team member coach here in Lancaster as well. He hosts the Live to Lead event here locally. And he's a great guy. He's got a lot of good information in the book, so I highly recommend you check it out. You guys all in agreement?
Absolutely.
People should definitely give it a read.
2 thumbs up.
Awesome. Take care.